Distance can be a major barrier to accessing quality healthcare on time. That's where Angel Flight East comes in. Welcome to Takeoff Talk with Angel Flight East, a nonprofit dedicated to providing free flights for children and adults who need medical treatment far from home. We don't know how many people forego medical care because they don't have accessible transportation, and that's what this podcast is here to change. Join passionate AFE staff members Jess, Ames, and Maddy, Beck as they share real-life stories from people who have used AFE services to get the care they need when they need it.
Hey, frequent flyers. Welcome back to another episode of Takeoff Talk. It's me, Maddy.
And me, Jess.
And today we have a different kind of passenger with us. We have Bill from Casa Volunteers.
Hello,
Hi,
how
Bill.
are you? How's everybody out there in the world?
We are so excited to have you because all of our previous guests have been passengers who we've flown to medical treatment centers. And another area of our service that we don't advertise as much are compassion flights, which is what you had just taken. So if you could kind of tell us about your role at Casa, what you guys do, and then how you found Angel Flight East and how we fit into your work that you do at Casa.
Sure. So CASA stands for a Court-Appointed Special Advocate, and we're assigned to cases from the court. Sometimes it's requested by case managers or other people, but we're assigned by the court. And we are volunteers. That's a key. I think it's very important to realize that the only person that gets monies are our director. As a fee or a salary. So, and our job, I think the easiest way to explain it is my role is to make sure the children are safe, protected, and heard. The key thing is making known what their desires might be or what we believe is what is known as best interest when they're in foster care. As far as I don't want to overstep my bounds on saying things as a volunteer that my director might know better than I. So I'll just try to keep it simple about children can be in foster care even though they stay in the home. So it's where custody is then granted by the court. It just depends upon placements and what is necessary for the children. So that's kind of my role. The simplest way, generally in our county, we have a court hearing with our families, and children are included if possible, every 3 months. I don't know if it's Pennsylvania or the United States rule where they have to have a hearing within 6 months. I'm just going to use it as Pennsylvania, but we generally do it at third month period because the goals are to reunify. A baseline is the reunification of children back to the family whenever, wherever possible. It does not always happen. Let's see. So we work closely with, and I volunteer in Lackawanna County. I do not live in that county. The county I live in does not have a CASA program. Not all counties have CASA programs. So that's something that certainly would be nice to reach out and get counties all involved in that. So how we got to know about this is our director, Joan, went to what she informed me was she went to a national CASA conference and found out quite a few years ago that South Central Texas, I think it was, if I'm not mistaken, had a program, Angel Flight program, that took CASAs to visit the children throughout whatever jurisdictions they were outside of. And so we were last month, I think it was September, I think maybe. I don't know. I can't remember. Oh, it must have been September because we just did all this. So in September, we do a one-on-one, and she brought this up to me because we got talking about my children, not my children, the kids in Virginia. And she says, you know what? I thought I heard something. So I can hear her typing, she's looking it up from Texas. So once Texas hit us, then me and her started looking up Pennsylvania. What do they have? And lo and behold, there you were. And I think it was the next day or that afternoon, I reached out and got David on the phone. And from there on, history is is with us, and I hope it continues for at least for our county, because there are several of the children that we have responsibility for are outside of our jurisdiction. Now we've kind of decided, at least Jonah has talking about anything over 4 hour drive would probably be a very good a radius to use for asking for angel flight. Anything less than that, because we do have the ability to use Zoom, and it's a proved method of having a face-to-face with children. But we have to always, like quarterly, I ask for an exemptions to not have a visual face-to-face, actual face-to-face. So that would kind of alleviate that necessity to do every quarter if that's what we choose to do, how we wanted to ask for assistance to get there. So I think that's it. I think that answered most of the questions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It did, yeah, and we weren't aware of what Casa did before you had reached out to us, so I
Uh-huh.
just think the work you guys do is so incredible, and if we could kind of be that connection between face-to-face versus Zoom, we love to do it, and the pilots love to do it as well.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
think one of the things that I learned or kind of consider is that a lot of times people need to have a 1 day trip. And I know that is probably a more difficult mission to arrange. Now, I'm fortunate that I don't have to be back. I can stay overnight and not disrupt other people's lives out there because they're also volunteers too. And I'll try to respect that. But yeah, that's one of the situations that might be a conversation for later, depending upon the day of the week and things like that.
So how did you get involved with Casa?
Oh, okay. I'm going to try to be short. I have two major careers, and so when I started my second career, I want to label it as working within the human services field. I worked with kids, adults, schools, probation and parole, treatment center, a nonprofit restorative justice program, developing disabled people in a organization that help get people jobs and things like that, and working with them. So, and people coming out of jail or prison, transitioning. So that's my second career. And so I would have loved to do that in the county I live in. I had a couple contacts. We worked hard. It didn't work out. So being the background that I had, I was well aware of a CASA. I said, it's not really what I want to do, but I have to do some volunteering. I got to do something for myself instead of remodel my house. It's already done now. So I chose to reach out to CASA. I found out Wayne County didn't have one, so I reached out to Lackawanna. So I'm 40-minute drive, 45-minute drive away from the office in the center of Scranton. So fortunately, I'm able to do this in that county because I've had clients, hour and a half away from just Scranton to visit them once a month and all. So that's my story. That's how I got involved. And then it just fit everything in. Everything I've done, my first career, the education and the experience I got, as well as basically why my second career really fit in perfectly for CASA. It's just wasn't my number one choice, but that's okay. It is now. It's my life now. So
That's awesome. And so now what everybody really wants to hear about, how did your flight go?
for me, it was wonderful. Actually, it was okay from my companion, which I'll call Megan. So the flight went well. That's all I can say. It was smooth. The pilots are definitely seasoned pilots. Fortunately, they were Air Force background, which is I'm a retiree from Air Force, and maintenance and munitions. So we were closely related. I worked with F4s. I worked with B-52s. We had several things to talk about, and we got where we needed to go in a timely manner. we even were able to move up our departure flight from Pittsburgh a little bit earlier because of our schedule of the child that we were meeting with and needed to be adjusted anyway. So we were able to see her Saturday afternoon because we got in a little bit late and it took some coordination with getting there. That's another issue. That's another discussion, how it worked. But we got there. And so we visited for a couple hours there. Then we went and purchased some personal things for her. And then we stayed in a motel. And then the next morning we went early enough to have 2 more hours with her. Antonia had called me on the return before the return flight. And I said, well, he said, what do you want to do? I can be there by 2:30. So I said, well, why don't we do it to 2:30? So that was a 45-minute earlier than we had. And then we went about our return to get to the regional airport in Pittsburgh, the Allegheny. So it all worked smooth. The weather was okay. We did have a rough, when he started to descend into Scranton, that's when the crosswind started. And you wouldn't know it because it was a beautiful day on Sunday for us. So it was a little rough, sliding back and forth and somewhat up and down too. And but we came in. Touchdown was a little hard, but he couldn't help it. We're lucky we landed on the tarmac because it was a struggle. I was watching, so it did. It went well, and these guys were wonderful. They were really, really special people. I mean, I have their names and numbers now and email. So
yeah, they're awesome. Especially Rob Newman is a little bit local to us, so he does a lot of outreach presentations with us, and he just loves talking about Angel Flight, and he's always signing up for flights.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I made him fly with me up to New York probably 2 months ago now.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Just to present to a lunch club and fly home. And he was like, this is great. This is the best way to spend a whatever day it was. I think it was a Tuesday.
Okay.
This is awesome. Let's do it again. When's the next one? Where are we going? It's like, okay, here we go. Like, sounds good.
So how much time between landing and then takeoff did you have to do your presentation?
I want to say we were probably there for maybe 2 hours.
Okay. All right.
So, yeah. But that's the nice part because I live about a half hour from where he keeps his airplane. So I just met him at his airport and we went.
Right. I haven't had to coordinate a trip like this in a very long time. When I go on vacation and go overseas, I pretty have much a routine. It's very simple because I'm paying for it. And so that was a struggle for me to get back into what I used to have to do if I had to go on a trip for work. And because there was a lot of coordination and there was a lot of knowledge that I did not have. So I have a pretty good list of lessons learned on how to offer to people. I already wrote up a checklist for the CASA in Lackawanna County of how, if they want to do this, here's the points of contact. Here's the things to consider because of, I initially thought, Allegheny Regional was probably a better stop. I'll get a Hertz rental right there. And then we'll be able to drive to the facility, which was a little bit across town, not too far. And then just drive back, drop it off at the airport and go. Well, along the way, I discovered that Hertz at that airport are not open Saturdays and Sundays. And late in the week before we started, so really pretty much when we were finalizing the flights, takeoff and landings and this and that, and conversations, I discovered that the budget rental store that I asked for, because it would be on the way, it was a little shorter trip, was not open on Sunday mornings. And we flew Saturday and Sunday. So I had to redo that coordination and went to Pittsburgh International. Now, that was a long ride. That was a long distance, gigantic distance, because everything we did was on that side of town, like south of the airport. I mean, everything's right on that side. So I learned that maybe Allegheny, even though I loved going in there because the people were great, is really not maybe the best one to go back to Pennsylvania in. And actually, if
at least if you're going on a weekend.
And see, that's the whole thing. Going on a weekend, it made it very difficult because I don't know what other I didn't look at other companies to see if they have a Saturday and Sunday, but then I want to pick maybe a local airport that is closer to that, so I don't have to ask for ground transportation. If I don't have to, that worked beautiful though. Except when we departed, we didn't know the drop pickup point at the airport, Pittsburgh, and the woman who picked us up said, "Where you at?" We had to walk across the aisle and go on to another side of the pickup points because Ubers and all that can drop off in front of the terminal, but they can't pick up. So we didn't know that, and we had to work. So we had these little lessons learned, and I never took a Lyft or a Uber. So that really was a great experience for me. I don't get worried about that, and I don't worry about, knock on wood, I don't have to worry about a little bit of money if things, I don't have to worry about that. So
Bill, I wish everybody was as easygoing as you are. You're the best passenger, because especially with our flights, sometimes they don't go as planned. So we always ask passengers to have a backup plan if the weather doesn't work out. And you're just the best, easygoing, just go with the flow. So we always appreciate that as well.
Oh yeah, and we did have backup plan, and that if we couldn't fly out, we didn't know how we were going to get home, but we had one going out. We were just going to drive. Because we could have left it any time we wanted, and we'd just been a 5.5 hour drive or a 5 hour drive, and we just would have done it because we had already planned over staying over because Megan was able to stay over. She has a large group of many children, and husband had to carry the load. So that's one of yeah. So he does.
She was probably like, "Do you want to stay for 2 days, 3 a week?"
No, she wasn't. She was ready to go home. Actually, she was.
Yeah.
It's funny, yeah, because not only I don't want to go into Megan's life, but she's a foster parent, a mentor for kids in foster care. You name it, she does it. If somebody makes a phone call and they need a place to stay, like an emergency, she's going to take them on for the nights or 2 nights that the caseworker's trying to find a bed. So she's outstanding.
That's amazing.
I'm part
Can
of the
you
family.
explain what it's like flying in a small airplane for our listeners who may not know, or they might think a small airplane is like a 20 passenger commuter jet and ours are just a teeny bit smaller?
Yeah, I would say greatly smaller. And I've flown in a small one before, so I was quite aware. I was able to tell Megan what we were up against, what she was up against. So we had a 4-seater going out, and coming back, we have a 6-seater. Of course, we sat different places. Megan wanted to sit up front so she could see. Well, that was great. And then when we went with Antonio, we sat in the back, and I sat on one side and Megan sat on the other, just for disposition of weight. And so it can be bumpy as you go through, up and down, transitioning through clouds and things like that. It's a little bit more bumpy than if you're on a commercial airplane and you've been through some turbulence. That's an anomaly a lot of times with a commercial airplane. It happens occasionally. Here, because we're flying in a different level of altitude, we hit a little bit more of that, but it's not anything that was uncomfortable at all. And so the 4-seater, I sat in the back, so I had a little bit less leg room. So I had to stretch out a little bit because my legs tighten up. So I did have to use a little extra foot space. But in the 6-passenger, it was like riding on I don't know what I can say, a boat with nobody in front of you, or an airplane with nobody in front of you, or you could make 2 people sit, stretch out and everything like that, lay down almost. So that was very comfortable. But again, I think the biggest thing I would have to state is be ready for turbulence. It's just a way of it because the airplanes are smaller and lighter. So I think that's important to know that. Oh, luggage. So you don't want to overpack, but I realized that we probably underpacked. We could have done a little bit more, which it worked out because we had some things to take and we had some things to come back with us from each person exchanging things. But we had plenty of storage space. But it would be, I think we called small, soft packet bag or something that you would carry with. I wouldn't use a hard one. If it is hard, it has to be very small to fit into most of those luggage cubbies.
Yeah, no, great points. I tell people all the time, like, my first car that I bought myself, or I'm sorry, my second car I bought myself was a two-door Mini Cooper. And if I couldn't slide my seat up and fit it behind my seat, I wasn't bringing it on one of our small planes.
Oh, okay. That's a good, yeah, okay.
Yeah, that was
That's
a
a nice
nightmare
way
trying
to
to bring anything.
Yeah, we were very fortunate that everything was small enough to fit and not take away from what the pilot had to put in that little luggage part. We were fine with it. The posters were a little bit different when we got posters to bring home, but we rolled them up and were able to salvage them. Both of them were sending posters back and
That's
forth that we
cute.
carry. Yeah, because art is one of the things. Megan's children made a big poster for the young lady, and the young lady made a poster for the family and another family. So yeah, exchanging that. These are the things that make the work worthwhile. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so rewarding.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, what is something that you would tell somebody who is scared of flying in a small plane, or even just somebody who's thinking about getting involved with angel flight in general?
One thing we talked about is more people die on the roadways than airplane crashes. Number one.
It's true.
It's the biggest thing. Just because there's an airplane crash does not anywhere equal the percentage of people that die in other ways. You can walk across the crosswalk and get killed in this country, probably others too. And eventually, if you look at those numbers, deaths by airplane crashes is probably a minuscule number of harm. Now, you do have to be a little flexible, to get in and out of the craft. But there's plenty of, safety things like that. So, but I think if you're afraid to fly on a commercial airline, you probably won't be very comfortable flying on a small airplane. So you really need to overcome that if you do plan on using this service, because if you're afraid to fly commercially in a gigantic jet, it's I as a lay person could not even try to think how to convince them that you're not going to be scared. Even Megan was a little nervous, and she just closed her eyes and meditated. That's all she did when we were going up and down, or when we hit the turns. That's all she did.
Personally, I think I feel more confident in a small plane than I do in a commercial pilot, like a commercial setting, because you're looking at the dials the whole time. You literally can hear the pilot talking to air traffic control. You know exactly what's going on. Like, you can look at how high you are. You can go how fast they're going. You can see where the closest airport is. Whereas when you're on a commercial plane, you're like, that's a cool cloud.
Yeah, because that's pretty much all you see.
Or the pilot might be sleeping.
Yeah, that's a good, or sleeping. Yeah, that's a great point. And that triggered something. And part of the briefing out of Rob's airplane was it had a parachute, just like the astronauts coming back to Earth. That's what happens. It's not just a parachute where it jacks you out of the plane. The whole plane comes down. And it can still float on water, and they can go back and get it again and fly it, and so that was awesome. I said, wow, that's great.
Right. Yeah, that's so cool.
He treated us just like a crew member. And I think it's a habit that they do probably in the military too, that they pre-check and all those, and they talk out loud to themselves or to anybody else. And so that allowed us to really understand what was going on and what the dials all meant. Because back when I flew a small putter, it was nothing but dials. These are screens that, technology is marvelous, and you can watch it. And if you don't want to, you close your eyes.
Yeah, you take a nap in the back, which is what I do too.
Yeah, I was very interested in what was going on flying.
Bill, what is one final thought that you would want to leave our listeners with?
I think the pre-planning is important. Um, I wouldn't commit to a time to take off and come back too early once you put your application in, because in our role, most of us don't know where we're going or like where we should go and make the trip so much smoother for on the ground. And I think that's important that you pre-plan your part of the trip that you're responsible for, figure out how to get to the airport you're leaving from and airport where you're coming back from, and then everything in the middle. If you were staying over, fortunately, the place where we were has a room for families to stay overnight, which means if we go with a small family, like Megan's, we're talking about, mom and two girls going, for example, that they could stay there, and then I'd just get a motel if I was going too. So yeah, and knowing what the size of the plane is, so you know how many passengers you think you can get in there. Um, I don't know. Yeah, you probably can't take many family members. Just probably two or three people at the most. So that's pre-planning is important. That I can say, and I think the easiest way is then. And one thing I really appreciate, Jess, is working that you obtained uh, ground transportation for us. That when we ran into a problem like that, we had it right there. I got the messages on my text. I knew what was happening, when it was happening, and things like that. That was grateful. So I think that's the biggest thing is pre-organizing your flight, coordinating as many as you can before you think about setting up a time and departure for the pilots, because we're at mercy of the pilot and the weather. So, and we have to be, and I know one thing, you got to be patient and you got to be flexible. You really
Here.
I do have a question though, and I think I just lost it. Oh, yes. Do I recall when I went on the site with the application, there was a place to donate to? Was a donation there?
There is.
Good.
There is a donate button.
Because I plan on put something in the pot, because I can't thank people enough.
That is so appreciated.
Just have to wait till the beginning of the month. It's almost here. It's almost here.
We won't rushing you.
And we do that with Casa too, because it's a nonprofit, and we have a big fundraiser every year, and dinner and stuff like that, and throughout we try to help each other out whenever possible.
You need to let us know when the big fundraiser is, or the dinner, or any.
Yeah, we want to come.
Oh, okay.
We're party people.
We will make a road trip for you.
Okay. Yeah. Let's see what I want to call. Oh, Casa Annual.
Is it in the Poconos?
I hope it's in the Poconos.
We're
in
the Scranton.
Bar's open.
Scranton. So
we'll go there too.
We're the northern end of the Poconos. You have to go through the heart of the Pocono region to get to us. We're the northern part of the Poconos, so you'll get to see a lot.
Don't tempt us with a good time. Like I said, Jess normally sends me to the woods anyway. So.
Oh yeah, I live in a community, so I'm in the woods all the time. There's a lot of us, so if you don't want to drive back, because I don't know how far Bluebell you're at, right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's at least 3 hours, right?
It took me like an hour and a half, 2 hours to get back on this weekend from Stroudsburg. So probably.
Oh. Okay. Yeah. So if you need places, you don't want to drive back because it's in the evening. It starts like 6 o'clock. So I just want to warn you. And so we'll figure out arrangements. I think there's enough support out there that we can make sure you're taken care of.
Oh, we appreciate that. Yeah. Thank you.
You don't have to tell us twice to go to a party.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Even though it's a fundraiser and things like that, there's still a party.
Hey, I was going to say fundraisers can still be fun.
Oh, they are. We have big raffles and baskets and different
I love
tickets.
raffles.
tickets to various places and everything.
Oh
And
my gosh.
yeah, and then we have
I
good
don't know.
meals.
I think that I need Jess's husband's opinion on this one, but I don't know if more of their money goes to raffles or crane machines, like the claw game.
Oh,
Oh, both of them. I love a good raffle. I will put all my tickets in one basket, and then if I don't win it, I'll go home and just think about it for a week.
And then buy it herself.
Yeah.
well, some of these are homemade, so.
Oh my gosh. Now we
Oh,
really have to
now
go.
we really got to
Oh
win.
yeah. Or for example, the director gets honey, and she had a basket this year with her homemade honey with other parts of it in the basket. So
Oh,
Wow.
I love that.
all kinds of things come out. Yeah,
Wow.
it's yeah. So that's just a little bit of what we do, and I'm so glad that I have met you all, and the agency, the organization, that we have collaborated and a successful flight. Um, and I'm ready to do it again whenever it comes. I do not want to abuse the privilege, but I definitely will use it.
There's no such thing as abusing it. As long as you're going more than 100 miles, you better call us.
Oh, so let me put
Yeah.
that out, 100 miles. Okay, thank you. That I learned a
Yeah.
lot myself. See,
There you go.
Thank you so much for sharing your story and experiences with Angel Flight. We're so happy to share more information about CASA as well.
right?
Yeah.
And every one of us will give you a different perspective, so it'll be interesting. I thought maybe hopefully somebody logged in that I sent the links to. Not real sure of that how that works because I don't see that. But
Yeah. If not, this will be posted, I believe, in 2 weeks. So you will receive all the information on how to share it with your contacts.
oh, okay, wonderful. That even works out better. I can just
Yeah.
send it straight to the county and spread it out. Oh, I know one thing I forgot. So as soon as we got off of a meeting with this child, before I left, we had a monthly review, and as soon as I told him about Angel Flight, I got a call from the case manager. Said, "Is Casa paying for that?" Because she was driving 2 days before I left, all the way out to Pittsburgh. And
Oh
she's,
my gosh. You better
yeah.
given her our number too.
Oh yes, they got it. So
All
it
right.
was so funny that, and she kept on calling me. What? How'd that work? Blah blah blah. So we initiated, and so that's another thing that can help our caseworkers if they have to go out further and be willing to travel into this process, because they don't have a lot of money county wise, to do these kinds of things. So driving is more expensive. I'm telling you that.
Yeah. Well, Bill, you're hired, and we will see you again for your next flight.
Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate your time. And everybody
you.
out there,
Thanks, Bill.
take advantage of the program. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Road trip to Scranton.
I love the Poconos. More woods.
I just want some of that homemade honey and all of those homemade raffle baskets. I'm going to bring all my dollars. So I hope there's a jukebox out there too.
You can't tell me that somebody in Scranton isn't like knitting a blanket or like making one of those little patchwork quilts, and I want to put all my tickets in that one.
Yeah. And hopefully somebody will listen to this and be like, I'll just fly them there.
Yeah, pilots, we know you hear us. Too many of you have admitted to listening.
And if I said anything wrong today, I know I will definitely hear about it.
I was thinking about it as he was talking about what it's like to fly in a small plane, and I feel like he made it sound like we're basically a dry log flume.
Yeah, we kind of are. Last week, when I flew back from Boston with Jade and Warren, we went through turbulence, and Jade was like, "Isn't this like a roller coaster?" And I was like, "I don't know if we should describe it like that. I don't know if people will get on the plane if they say going through turbulence is like a roller coaster, but it's not terrible."
See, I think I'm so used to like this sounds really bratty, and bratty is not the word that I want to use. I'm going to use our twin telepathy, and you know exactly what word I want to use. It begins with a D for the listeners, but I feel like I'm so used to flying like general aviation now that the little bumps, I'm like, okay. And then when I get on a commercial plane, I just kind of sit there and keep reading my book, and everybody's in turbulence, like holding on to their neighbor. And I'm like, okay, okay.
Yeah. We don't like to fly commercially anymore. It's
No,
a pain. You have to get there 2 hours early, then
gotta
go through
sit
all
near
the security.
strangers.
Yeah, it's germy, people are gross.
So gross,
I'd much rather just go to the airport behind our house.
right? Or even like in front of our office.
Yeah, Marvin, if you're listening to this, we need a flight to Martha's Vineyard. We're thirsty.
Yeah, although I don't think Marvin even knows that we have a podcast. So literally any other pilot who can hear us.
We'd like to go to Martha's Vineyard one weekend. You can just drop us and you don't have to worry about us for the whole weekend.
Honestly, we wouldn't be offended if you just didn't pick us up either.
I'm sure we'd find somewhere to live.
Right? I mean, I don't think we could afford it, but we could find it.
Andy would have to come pick us up
Yeah.
and then give us a lecture on the ride home.
So never mind. I don't think we can go. I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to get in trouble. But I would also take a flight to Cape May because I miss their beer.
Ooh, I do miss their beer.
All right. Well, sounds good to me.
Thank you for listening, and we will see you next week.
Bye.
That's it for today's episode of Takeoff Talk with Angel Flight East. If you want to learn more about our services, please visit our website at www.angelflighteast.org or call our office at 215-358-1900. Join us in our mission. If you're a healthcare worker or a patient in need of air travel and flight services, AFE is here for you. Subscribe to the show so you can hear more stories. Join us again next week right here on Takeoff Talk.